We're back with a special edition of our podcast. I'm Fede Pacheco, alongside my co-host Adam Burke, and a special guest today. Fernando Peoples is back in the podcast. How are you doing, guys?
Hey, Fede. Yeah, always good to chat. And Fernando, super excited you're here with us today.
Yeah, you didn't get the memo. Me and Fede matching shirts. That was part of the invite.
We're talking about NerdioCon here, and if you're not watching, Fernando and I are wearing our matching pink shirts that we wore the first day of NerdioCon, where we interviewed a bunch of partners. So that's the topic today. And Adam, you didn't make it, unfortunately, right?
I didn't. I heard NerdioCon was so epic, even the Wi-Fi had to wear a superhero cape, but I did not make it out there. That was my Copilot joke. I was getting ideas. I'll give Copilot credit.
No, that's a good joke. Well, Adam, since you unfortunately could not join us, and we did have a lot of fun, how about you play moderator today and ask us the questions of what anybody that joined you and not joining would want to know about NerdioCon 2025?
I think that sounds perfect. I would love to do that. I would love to learn a little bit more about it myself. Certainly wanted to be there and was disappointed I wasn't able to join. Maybe a good place to start is just kind of giving everybody a little bit of an idea of, what is this event all about? What is NerdioCon?
Yeah, sure. I can take it from there. NerdioCon, it was a great event, held at a great location in Palm Springs, California. Very scenic. It was hot. It was down in the valley in the desert there, but we had a great time. But if anybody's familiar and don't know about Nerdio is a software vendor who has partnered with Microsoft, and they supply basically two focal point products. One is an MSP manager for MSPs out there, but their platforms, and one's an enterprise manager, but their platforms help you manage and control costs and orchestrate deployments of Microsoft Azure Virtual Desktop. And they also work alongside the Microsoft, what has now been branded the Windows Cloud, which a lot of us know of as Windows 365. So they have some great product launches. We had some VPs and some product leads from Microsoft and Nerdio. It was great announcements. They were announcing, there was great, also there wasn't just announcements to the Nerdio product, there were announcements for the AVD products also.
Yeah, that's a perfect wrap up of what went through. The cool thing is we ran into so many people that are related to the MSP community, right? So we thought we had a really popular episode at Ignite. Adam, you and I recorded this episode where we recapped everything that we saw at Ignite and the session that we delivered. Well, we decided to take that to the next level, and we brought the cameras and the microphones alongside with us to the event, and we recorded 9 separate interviews with some of those VPs and leaders. Like, some of them we know from the podcast from before, like, of course, Joseph Landis, the CRO and co-founder of Nerdio, who had a really good episode that builds on what Fernando was saying on how Nerdio aims to simplify for MSPs with 3 clicks or less. And then we had other folks, for example, Pax8, Angelica Schmein, the Senior Director of Microsoft Alliances. Instead of telling you what happened, kind of like what we did in that very popular episode, we're taking it to the next level by showing you those interviews along the way. But we curated it in a way that makes a lot of sense for everybody.
I'm super excited to see that recap. How do you want to start here, Fede?
Yeah, well, there's 3 overarching themes in which we compile these videos, so it makes sense for our listener and they can feel like they were at the event with Fernando and I. So at first we just, Fernando shared what he thinks of NerdioCon, but what we actually asked most of our guests on the interviews was, why did you come here and what you gotten out of it? So we're starting obviously with some of our VPs, and then we'll come down the list. Number 2, we're going to talk about a session that Fernando and I delivered. It was actually very similar in many ways to the session you and I delivered, Adam, at Ignite, but we doubled down on a specific solution that many people use Nerdio for migrating, which is remote desktop services, also known as RDS commonly. So we'll dive deep into our session and even some live reactions. I remember last time we were saying people say they liked it. Well, we'll show you what people said about our session. And finally, we'll wrap up just with what were those announcements that Fernando talked about, what were people excited about as users of the technologies, both the solutions we provide as Microsoft and also what Nerdio provides to complement and enhance that. So how does that sound, Adam and Fernando? Do you think we're ready to go with our recap?
Yeah, I think that's perfect. Yeah, look forward to kind of jumping in and listening into this.
All right, so we'll roll it right now, and starting with Scott Manchester, who is our VP of the Windows Cloud. How you doing, Scott?
Doing well.
You come to Nerdicon every year. Tell us why.
Well, the weather is one good reason, right? They always choose these awesome destinations. We started in Cancun and Dominican Republic. This time here in the beautiful Palm Springs. But truly, it's about getting a chance to connect with our partners and the community. This has just been a fantastic event that's grown year over year. We have a great opportunity just to have conversations with our partners. And these types of events are really intimate because you bump into people all day long and you get to have these ad hoc conversations and structured conversations. So it feels like kind of living in a college dorm room for a week. It's a lot of fun.
Final day of Nerdicon, and we're here behind the scenes with Joseph Landis, co-founder and CRO. How you doing, Joseph?
I'm good, Fetty. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
No, we've been planning this for a long time, and you've been working hard for a long time. So how does it feel to be on the final day?
It feels amazing. Great conference. It's our fourth year doing it in person. And it's amazing to really look at the variety of partners and clients who are here, who are all coming to learn about innovation based on the Microsoft Cloud. So very exciting.
Well, I know you deserve a vacation. After this, we were wearing really flashy shirts yesterday that people complimented. So we brought one for you.
Oh, wow.
So you can wear on your vacation.
This is my style, so I'm excited about it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's the least we could do to thank you.
That's very kind of you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I will wear this and surprise my family.
Of course, of course.
I'm Ogua Twanya, Corporate Vice President of Vendor Experience at Pax8.
Hey, got a couple quick questions here for you. Shoot. You got a huge group of Pax8 people here today. So what brought you guys to NerdioCon?
Yeah, Nerdio is, one of our premier Accelerate partners. And I believe we are the only global IP that Nerdio has. So very important for us to be out here to support Nerdio and also have an opportunity to speak to the MSPs and see what people are doing with the technology.
What are you excited about when it comes to the MSP community with the app and AI innovation?
Yeah, so let me just say that AI is pretty existential for SMBs. It's critical to land AI for SMBs for them to continue to thrive. Here at Pax8, we are very, very maniacal about making sure that we incorporate AI into how we run more efficiently, more effectively, and more securely.
Yep.
And having the opportunity to enable the MSPs do that, it's a very, very critical level for success in our ecosystem. So I'm really looking forward to how the different value chains incorporate AI into how they do business.
How are small and medium enterprises accelerating their AI journey? I'm here with Jose Gomez Cueto, General Manager for Small and Medium Enterprises for Microsoft Americas. How are you doing, Jose?
Hi, Felix. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited. You just delivered an awesome session on precisely the topic that I mentioned. So if you were running to an MSP here in the hall and they would ask you, hey, I'm sorry I missed your session, what was it about? What would you say?
Thank you, Felix. So the session was about three things. Number one, we are living a technology platform shift with AI. Number two, it's a great opportunity in the SMB space, the small and medium business enterprises, because of the opportunity that exists to modernize and move things to the cloud and bring efficiencies and bring everything that technology offers to achieve customer outcomes. And then the third one, a very meaningful for us, which is our partnership with Nerdio and how the Nerdio Manager for MSP is going to be empowering a lot of our MSPs to do things in an easier way, whether they have a practice with Azure and they want to move to modern work, or they're working with modern work and they want to do Azure. It's all about delivering value to the end customer. So those were the three things, and all up is just a great opportunity for all our MSPs to bring value to their customers.
I love that. And I was about to ask you why you come here to NerdioCon every year, because you're a big sponsor of Nerdio. And can you tell us something that you learned or enjoyed so far this year?
Yeah, for sure, Fede. So we've been partnering with Nerdio since, I think, 2019. And the reason is because they have some capabilities that are quite unique to their IP in the ease of being able to price, quote, manage, deploy everything related to Azure. That's how we started. So reducing any friction or complexities that some of our customers might not have the technical resource, or maybe your MSPs were newer to Azure and didn't know how to do it. Nerdio does it with literally 3 taps or almost 3 taps in a very simple way. So we see a lot of value in being able to automate all of these functions that MSPs have an important role to play as they serve our small and medium business customers. They are the IT manager, they are the CISO, security officer, they're the operations person, they're the compliance person, they're the risk person. So a lot of hats that the MSPs need to wear, and Nerdio allows them with great tooling and IP that helps them deploy the Microsoft technology in an easier way.
That's wonderful. Let me switch gears for a second because I'm here because I'm a big believer in the Microsoft's data center optimization team and the program. You were involved there in your previous roles at Microsoft since the very beginning. So can you tell us what that means for the small and medium business space?
Yeah, so I'm have a very special place in my heart for DCO. I had the privilege to pilot the first pilots that we did with some hosters in the United States back in 2016. Before there were many data centers, and now many of them have just moved to Azure. So the reason this is great is because first of all, it's very lucrative for our MSPs and Azure partners or hosters that are hosting Microsoft solutions. It's a very rich benefit program that has many things that allows them to get access to pay for performance model, to get better margins, and also additional toolings and offers that we don't offer traditionally unless you're in the DCO. The second thing that is more related to the value that we bring to customers is that a lot of customers are still running things on-prem. And they're missing out on a lot of innovation that we're bringing to market and that our MSPs could deliver. So being able to use DCO as a way to migrate all of that legacy services that are still on-prem is an amazing opportunity. So I'm a big fan. I'm super excited, and I hope to see many, many more MSPs embracing our DCO program.
Man, we should have brought you to our breakout session because you are a big believer. So thank you so much for sharing some of that knowledge with our partner community.
Thank you, Fede.
Wow, those were great insights. I love how you captured that real-time feedback and thoughts from folks while they were there. One of the things that I think really stood out too is the potential of the cloud versus being limited by the physical infrastructure. I know that's one of the things that really excites Nerdio and many of our AVD partners. Did that come up at all in our session that you delivered? Is that something you guys touched on?
Yes. I mean, it came up. People were even coming up wanting to continue the conversation after the session. I mean, that was a great. I think that was the thing where the hook was kind of landed there, because in our session, a lot of people were just trying to figure out what it was, and then over time, it was almost like we met them where they were at with that one, and it basically that's what everything kind of took off there. It allowed us to continue on through our session. One of the things that really kind of captivated everybody when we started getting into the kind of the economics of things. Basically, we had a slide presentation there where we showed a client. We gave an example of a client with 10,000 users, and we showed on the slide presentation where, hey, this is how much it costs them with SPLA, just a licensing construct only, how you license that many RDS cows plus the Windows workloads. And it was around like $1.24 million in cost just for licensing. And then we showed them, hey, you take that same workload, migrate it to AVD, and with licensing infrastructure, and including Nerdio, it was around right at 1.2 even. So, a lot of people think like, well, yeah, you save 40, 50,000, but you save really more than that. When you look at total cost of ownership, and then when they were just licensing just the RDS session host on SPLA, they know that their cost for infrastructure, they know their cost for data center space or with a colo space. So that people were actually coming up to us like, wow, you guys don't even factor in just all these additional things. Yes, because you know more about that than we do. But just to take that licensing cost and transfer that over to be an all-encompassing infrastructure and licenses at the same time, that was like, people were coming up to me and Fede at the booth the next day and later that afternoon wanting to have more conversations around that.
I was just going to say, that's great. I think there's such a compelling value prop with AVD that when we position it with our partners and in some ways undersell it, where we, don't try and find every single infrastructure cost, but really just kind of show the licensing versus the full value of AVD, you see the light bulbs go off where our partners really get, what a value it is when they make that pivot.
Yeah, and I'll add too, one partner said this. They have always been a fan of Nerdio, but when they saw that slide, they were like, man, it allows, you can add the Nerdio layer in there, the licensing piece from that AVD and around the host. You can add all that in there and you still coming in less than what I was just paying for licensing. And so, and the way the guy kind of said it was, hey, the licensing piece is more so like the leather seats in the car that I was just paying for. I had that was what the leather seats, I still was paying for the car. And he's like, and he came to me and says, and after I explained everything to him, he said, basically, you're selling me the entire car for the same price that I paid the seats for. And I'm like, yes, included with the leather seats and other upgrades. And he was hooked at that point. He's like, yeah, we're going to go back and we're going to reevaluate some things and kind of go from there. So when you start speaking at that cloud economics, it's almost like you're cost optimizing them before they ever move to the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a sweet, sweet metaphor, Fernando. And you know how it is, Adam, when you delivered our session at Ignite. It's really sometimes hard to come with this general decks because here's what I told the audience when we began our session. If there's 30 of you in the room, there's going to be 30 different stories of how this path might go. So it's really hard to just go general. And we wanted our session to be early so we could have those individual conversations. We will include the deck so that anybody that's listening and miss out on NerdioCon can download it. But of course, again, what we always promote is you can reach out to Fernando and Adam and me through dco.microsoft.com to have that individual conversation. But with that being said, love your metaphor, Fernando. Let's actually show people what the partners said. Pax8 brought more than 35 partners to NerdioCon, and I'm here with Angelica Schmeing, Senior Director of Microsoft Alliances at Pax8. We just went to our session about DCO and hybrid cloud. What do you think of it?
No, I mean, I'm really happy to attend it because for me, it's an eye-opener and see how many partners still do not know about the data center optimization program of Microsoft. And we see a lot of success with partners enrolling and engaging within the program. So I'm glad to see that there are more MSPs engaging and joining your session. So it was really good.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, we had one partner reach out to me and said, yeah, I hadn't heard of any of this at all. They actually told me they worked with Pax8. So if he were to come tomorrow and ask you, hey, how do we get started on this DCO thing, what would you advise?
Yeah, just sign up and just lean in and talk to your infrastructure solution consultant, which we have dedicated for our Pax8 partners, and they specialize in Azure. So they'll be able to coach them alongside Microsoft when it comes to data center optimization.
That's wonderful. And well, you are an alumni of this podcast. You were on episode 9, if I recall correctly. So now that you're back here, could you remind us what is Pax8's superpower?
Oh, okay, so I can't pick just one, and I thought about this. I'm going to pick 3. So first and foremost, most especially, is our marketplace. So if you haven't checked out the Pax8 marketplace and the AI that we try to drive, and we want to bring the marketplace of the future to all MSPs, please do work with Pax8, and I think you'll love our marketplace. The second would be our partners. We wouldn't win Microsoft Partner of the Year award globally and in Americas without our partners. So we actually built a really good MSP community as well, similar to Nerdio and similar to Microsoft. We're all about the partnership. And last but not least is our people. I love working at Pax8, and I think all of our partners and vendors love working with us too.
Well, one easy question before I let you go. What has been your favorite thing about NerdioCon?
Oh my goodness, just, apart from this and the interaction and just learning more through our partners and our vendors, is just everyone getting along, like-minded individuals, talking about technology and how we drive it responsibly across our customers is my favorite part of the NerdioCon.
Thanks for joining us, Angelica.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey, we got a special guest we want to introduce you guys to.
Hi, I'm Dan Shapiro. I'm President and Chief Operating Officer at TeamLogic IT. We have 300 locations nationwide. We're celebrating our 20th year, and we provide IT managed services to small and medium businesses.
Hey, I got a quick thing. We're going to rapid fire here real quick, okay?
Let's go.
First and foremost thing, I got to show some favoritism here. What was your favorite session? I'm assuming it's ours. I'm going to go ahead and answer that myself. Yeah. And tell us this. What did you like about our session?
So, of course, it was data center operations. It's a great initiative. And I think the key takeaway that I had was the TCO conversation, the fact that when you look at licensing versus looking at cloud, aside from just future proofing your business, I learned that. But you can also have all those other hidden savings that you might not see just on the surface. So, whether it's the power, the security, the premise, all of that really adds up. And I learned that, and I was grateful to be able to be part of that session.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Hey, we probably spent, about 500 hours on that presentation. No, I'm just kidding. Got another special guest, and actually he's special because he attended me and Fetty's session yesterday. So hey, tell everybody out there who you are.
So my name is Randy Kern, Director of Cloud Services with Choice Solutions.
All right. Hey, tell us a little bit about the company that you're representing today.
Yeah, so Choices has been a 35-year ISV partner, done professional services, now moved into managed services, and been a big partner with Microsoft, and most recently going into partnering with Nerdio as well around the cloud journey into Azure and AVD.
Oh, cool. When you look at the session that you attended, you was one of the people there, you came at the end, you had some really great questions. What did you walk away with? What is something you want to do when you listen to our session that you're like, hey, as soon as I get back home, we got to start looking into this?
Yeah. So, we've done some Azure Arc, specifically more around the extending, on-premise end of life. The Azure Arc SQL, the case study you guys provided there was, I'm just leaving money on the table, right? Let's just be honest. And that's an easy win button. I can go back and, take that to my financial team, have that conversation and change how we do that billing and structuring. The other thing I was curious about, we haven't a chance to jump into it yet, but I was really talking about how the server workload's coming that direction as well. Cut down the road, 2025 now, but, as that continues to expand, how does that transition as well? So future opportunities as well. So it's just really understanding that Arc is not just that extending on-premises security, but it's also all the other capabilities you can bring from Azure to that on-prem. And then, again, transitioning out of Splaw as it goes into life and the price changes, right? Hey, let's put some more money back in my pocket. We're always happy about that.
I like to give a special shout out to Randy Kern. He was the Director of Cloud Services at Choice Solutions. He came up to us after our session, had a long conversation about, hey, I think what you guys are talking about could effectively turn the tide of us potentially getting better ACR and accelerating our Azure spend and Azure revenue. And so that conversation carried on to the next day, where Randy probably came and talked to us for about like an hour in the Microsoft booth. And then we ended up, as you guys see, filming a session with Randy. So shout out to Randy. He really carried it to heart, everything that we were saying there. It was almost like, everything there, he felt like it was an area of improvement for his organization.
Yeah, and I even felt, am I even allowed to ask you this, Randy? Because it's so easy when you already did something and you tell the story, but in his case, it was all forward looking. I hope we can host Randy in this podcast maybe a year from now to cover the second side of this in a better situation for him and the economics of the company he works for. But really, really shout out for you, Randy, if you're listening, because you went out of your way to express the feeling that we hope many listeners are having when they listen to the stories we tell.
So I know we want to get to the announcements part. Does this encompass everything you all covered in terms of the data center optimization track?
Actually, I want to show a couple of more videos first, going back to the conversation with Joseph, because since we had him on the podcast, he kind of reiterated one of the main points about how he sees the remote desktop to AVD conversation. And then we also ran into Cortex. So we'll play a video about that one. You said a really strong message for those who are still using remote desktop services and those who are using some technologies that might be a couple of decades old. So for those who didn't catch that episode yet, would you want to expand that message a little bit?
Yeah, so Scott Manchester talked today about Microsoft is still, after 25 plus years, supporting RDS. But I think the example I gave on your podcast, which I think is still relevant, is if you're building a house, why would you put in windows that are 25 years old? You'd get the most up-to-date windows, right? Because those are the best. It's the most up-to-date technology. And I think it's the same when it comes to desktop virtualization. Why would you start a business? Why would you, say, hey, I'm really excited using RDS and the old technology. Why would I not use Cloud PC? Why would I not use Cloud VDI from Microsoft, Windows 365, AVD? And those technologies offer so much innovation and so much opportunity for partners to be successful that it's kind of hard for us to imagine someone wanting to use anything else.
Yeah, for sure. Before I let you go, we could say see you at NerdCon number 5 next year, but I know there's a lot happening between now and then.
Yeah.
So for those who are listening and missed out on this, what can they do to stay in touch with you all?
Yeah. So I would say the first thing is go to our website at getnerdio.com. We have a set of really great learning opportunities throughout the year. We have our MSP training camps. These are 2-day events. Laptops open, learning how to build a cloud practice using the Microsoft Cloud. We invite anyone to come. They're free of charge, and we'll even pay for your hotel room. I think that's a great opportunity. If you're more of an enterprise partner, if your clients are more enterprise size, we have our enterprise partner camps. And we also run some events with Microsoft called Microsoft Innovation Days, which are a little bit more kind of like hackathons, but you also learn about Windows 365 and AVD and how to apply those products to your environments a lot easier. So NerdioCon is a great moment, and we'll announce the date and the location at some point, but learning takes place throughout the year. And we'd love to welcome anyone who wants to do that.
Awesome. We'll catch you there for sure, and thanks for your time here.
Sounds good. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate it.
When we talk about partner community, for us that means partners helping other partners. Cortec is doing $100 million in CSP revenue every year, but also they make it part of their mission to help other partners. I'm here with Eduardo Molina, fellow Costa Rican, but also director for Cortec. Eduardo, how's NerdCon been for you so far?
It's been fantastic. It's been a great event, great location right here in sunny California. Weather couldn't be better, right? And we have learned about a lot of innovation from the Microsoft side of the house, a lot of innovation from Nerdio and some of the other partners that are here, and other ISVs that are part of the community.
And part of our big partner community, some of them are still investing in remote desktop services, and there is now a path, whether it's Windows 365 or Azure Virtual Desktop. There's a lot of changes coming into the horizon on October 1st with the list of provider changes. So what are your perspectives there? And as Cortec always helps partners, how could you help along the way?
Sure, with the splash changes that are coming, I think Cortec can help them, and we have a co-branded ebook around how Azure Arc can be the solution for those partners, for those ISVs, to move away from the SPLA licensing into a more modern hybrid approach with Azure Arc.
At this point, I think you should have delivered our session with us because you bring so much knowledge to the table. Really appreciate your time, Eduardo. Pura vida.
Pura vida.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cortec is such a great partner. We work so closely with them, and they're an enabler to many of our partners as well. We see a lot of great P2P plays with Cortec. So glad to hear you ran into them. Any partner that's looking to dive into CSP can certainly benefit from an engagement with them.
Yeah, we'll attach that ebook that Eduardo mentioned, as well as their marketplace offering for everybody to have an easy way to get in touch with them.
Perfect. All right. Well, hey, let's finally give the people what they want. What was discussed at NerdioCon in terms of announcements that are really going to continue to drive innovation for MSPs?
Oh man, there was a ton of announcements. To solve some of the critical ones that we're talking about, let's start with Windows 365. One of the things with Windows 365, we know traditionally it's been a kind of a standalone SaaS type offering in a way. So one of the things that people traditionally do, they will select the right, traditionally in the past, you select the right SKU for your Windows 365 workloads. With something that Nerdio has brought to the table now with something they label as deeper insights. That's kind of the motto that they were following with all their new and innovations there. They can come back now and come back over time and help you right size that, have you downgrade or either upgrade to a particular SKU. In the past, people have just been kind of going off user experience, whether or not, I think I need a little bit more horsepower on that. They have the telemetry there to tell you whether or not, hey, you're not in the right SKU, you need to right size or downsize. Another thing that I thought was really cool, they have this desktop as a service modeler. So it helps you again, pre-migration and during, to select the right SKU, the right type, license type. So basically their whole thing is to not make you, once again, overpay for something that you're, being over provisioned. And so that was something that was cute that everybody loved at that point. The other thing in their Nerdio Manager for MSP and Nerdio Manager for Enterprise where once again they push the deeper insights. They're using a lot of AI to help pull that information. So that was a huge one of the things too in the Nerdio manager space. It's in the enterprise space, but not in the manager space. Is that as of the latest update now, they're going to add support for Azure GovCloud, which is huge for those smaller MSPs who have maybe those smaller government contracts. Because in the past, they had to deal with Nerdio Manager for enterprise, maybe for like one-offs and two-offs here and there. So they're doing that. There's some advanced level insight when it comes to M365 and Intune. I mean, one of the things that I would say about Nerdio that I've even prior to coming to Microsoft, the company I used to work with, we used Nerdio, and it just gives you so much insight and information and into your workloads, into everything that you're running. And they're expanding on that. They have these self-diagnostics information that they're using AI to help you resolve issues faster. Kind of the other motto that they were going through was one platform, total control. I mean, that was something you saw in a lot of their slides. They talked about it and it goes back to what Fede mentioned that Joseph said earlier, in 3 clicks or less. And so those were the things that really stood out. I mean, you should see the different slides where people were like jumping up, taking pictures, like, oh my God, we need that. I'm ready for that to implement. And the beauty of it is they made those announcements and they were readily available you could download them right after the session. So that was great to see from a product release standpoint.
That's a great recap, Fernando. Now let's actually show one more MSP that we interviewed, Jeremy Rieger, and then we'll jump into answering that question by Joseph Landis one more time and Scott Manchester one more time.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Regier. I'm with Inspirus, and we're based in Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Hey, Jeremy, tell me a little bit about your company, Inspirus.
Yeah, we actually just celebrated our 30-year anniversary. We're a family-founded, family-owned, and family-run MSP that has a side of business process automations.
With Nerdio, how has it improved your business?
Well, it's allowed us to take our MSP and transition it from on-premise focused to now within the last year, we have no customers on-premise anymore at all. And that is all thanks to Nerdio. Without that, that would not be possible.
Wow. So with the different features that were announced today throughout the different keynotes that you've gone to and breakout session, what was the thing that probably stood out the most to you today?
Just the level of reporting and integration that's broadening. Like, for example, PSA integration coming, just to see that start to take form of being able to be that single pane of glass for the entire suite of management, not just AVD and virtual desktop anymore, but modern work.
Oh man, that's great. So hey, if I lived in Canada and I'm shopping around for an MSP and I'm looking at your company, tell me, hey, what is your company's superpower?
Well, we believe that IT is inherently a little bit intimidating for people and sometimes gets accused of sort of being slide the pizza under the door and back away quietly. And instead, we like to level up our employees. So we send them all to personal development. So we really want to level up their emotional intelligence so that even if we're dealing with somebody who's not having their best day, we can interact with them and create a positive outcome.
Oh man. So one last question. So you're a Pax8 partner. And has that helped your business overall throughout this journey?
Absolutely. We switched to Pax8 specifically because of their support and their ability to support our team technically. So all the benefits of being a great partner, in addition to that, were their tech support team that was able to backfill some problems and some holes that we had in our tech support lineup. And so that's given us the ability to be confident in deploying all these solutions and having our customers really rely on the Microsoft and the Azure ecosystem.
Well, tell us about some of the announcements you made. You said winning in modern work was important and how you're expanding across the Microsoft clouds. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we made a few big announcements yesterday. I think the biggest announcement we made was the enhancements that we're delivering now on top of Windows 365. Windows 365 is obviously a huge investment area for Microsoft, the whole development of the category of cloud PC. We've been working very closely with Microsoft over the past 9 months to deliver this enhanced functionality, and we were super excited to share it with the community yesterday. And of course, we talked a lot yesterday about the continued investments that we're making in Microsoft 365. This past November, we announced tremendous innovation in the area of making it easier for managed service providers to take full advantage of the investment they're already making in Microsoft 365 Business Premium in areas of things like Intune, Defender, Entra ID, the general Microsoft 365 categories. So it's always exciting to have an event like this and be able to share a lot of the innovation that we've been working on for a long time with our partners and our clients.
If you had to share with them what's new with Azure Virtual Desktop and Windows 365, what would you share?
Well, we had a lot of exciting announcements just last week and had a chance to amplify them here at the event and even see some of those technologies being implemented by Nerdio and some of our other partners. The migration API was probably one of the net new exciting things. It was an API that we announced last week that allows partners to leverage an import tool for Windows 365 where they can pass us a VHD and some parameters, and we can go build a cloud PC from that. Nerdio did a really exciting implementation of this where they can assess a customer's workload, where perhaps they provisioned personal desktops for AVD users, and they can assess those users based on the usage pattern, whether they might be better suited for Windows 365, and then click a button and just migrate the user straight over. Last week, we also announced a couple new exciting options on top of Windows 365 for disaster recovery. Disaster Recovery Plus, which is some very advanced with a very high SLA disaster recovery option with a low RTO and RPO, and then cross-region disaster recovery, another really exciting opportunity for organizations who want to make sure their workloads span multiple regions in the case of some kind of natural disaster or something like that. And then, of course, the continuing evolution of our Windows app. We published the Android app last week also with the new Windows app capability, and mobile application management integrated into that as well.
That sure is a lot. And if I may ask you one more thing about what we announced, what we're doing, focusing so much, it's security, right? It's such a paramount important thing at Microsoft. Could you tell us more about that part?
Yeah, we had a pretty good conversation with our partners and customers earlier today about our security posture overall with our Windows Cloud offerings. And we highlighted 3 new announcements that I think our customers will really find compelling. One of the first ones was obviously the mobile application management. One of the other ones was the ability to set the dial on the token refresh timing there. And I think those two were very significant new capabilities. And then just more tools to allow organizations to set conditional access policies and manage their security footprint with more visibility.
Wonderful. Well, as you know, our community is all about the hybrid cloud. We got partners who still have their private clouds. They still invest in RDS or remote desktop services. What advice do you have for them when we are also announcing all these exciting things? You as the founding father, if I might call you that, of Azure Virtual Desktop and our new technologies.
Yeah, certainly. It's just, keeping an eye on what's happening around us, right? Many things around the world are changing, the proliferation of AI, the reach that we have with the Windows Cloud now. These type of events are really a great opportunity, not only to talk with us, the product makers, but more of the product implementers and just have a conversation. I see so much information sharing between different partners and customers that come here. It's just a really exciting opportunities. We have a couple upcoming events. We have Build, we have Ignite. These are really great opportunities to come and really get engaged with the community because there's so much happening in this space right now.
Thanks for the time, Scott, and I'll see you in all those events at NerdioCon next year.
Look forward to it.
Well, hey, that's awesome. Great job, Fede and Fernando. Not only are you delivering that information to our partners about how we can help support them, I think you all became great reporters here with all of these interviews. I really loved, the real-time feedback from so many partners while they're at the conference.
Oh, thanks. And I would say this, partners were very, very passionate about basically wanting to know how can they grow their business. Via with AVD, with Nerdio, we had conversations with partners with things about like Arc-enabled SQL. I mean, pretty much every partner that we walked away with, when they wanted to engage in that conversation, they all felt that they were leaving money on the table. That was literally the words, like, man, I feel like I'm leaving money on the table. I need to go back and evaluate that. And the other thing is too, that coming from our presentation, the other thing that people were saying that they were leaving money on the table was incentives. They just felt like they weren't capitalizing on any of the incentives like they should be doing. And so a lot of people were like, hey, I'm going to go back. And I think a lot of people felt coming out of our presentation, they didn't have to really change the way they sell something. They just needed to change the way they approach the whole process. And what I mean by the whole process is, am I leaving money on the table? I'm selling our situation, like I'm selling someone this in SPLA when I could be selling it to them in CSP. It's still transaction, some of the same licensing, still discussing some of the same workloads, but how can we do it more effectively? The economics around it better. I just think walking away from our presentation, we accomplished what we felt like we needed to accomplish, was empowering people to go out and run a better business in the cloud.
I'll just say big shout out to Nerdio, because beyond the amazing technology that they do, they also have built this incredible community that we were so grateful to be a part of. So not only did we engage with a bunch of partners there, but by doing this video or this recording, we hope to expand that reach and reach more partners that either want to be part of the Nerdio community or even join our community as we continue to send that message of everything that we shared so far. So if you are listening and you have another event in your head that you think might be the perfect next thing that we do, that Fernando and hopefully Adam and I can also join as reporters, let us know in the comments or reach out to us, because this was really something that we tried for the first time and it was a lot of fun to do. Yet we also know that will hopefully add a ton of value for you. Thanks for tuning in with us today, and see you next time. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Stay tuned for more insights and stories from Microsoft's data center optimization team. Be sure to stay connected at dco.microsoft.com or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.